The rat signal has been activated. Quickly quiver home to the Ratmobile. This year would not have ended properly without a star-stable drama to round it off. On the 20th of December, a Reddit user by the name of BrilliantWorry5388 made a post, buyer beware, not all lifetime purchases are equal. In the post, they describe how they decided to purchase Lifetime at the same time as their spouse and ended up paying a lot less than her. There was no discount active at the time, so they contacted SSO. It turns out this was a new packet SSO was trying. It cost less, but you would not have a weekly star coin or paid currency allowance. A little bit of digging turned up that SSO was doing what is known as A/B testing or split testing. Now they do have some nuance, these two terms, for their own respective functions, but they do come down to the same thing. Edit your website to show some customers option A and some customers option B, and see which option sells better or if it sells at all. This sparked a huge debate on the legality of this, and even people showing that SSO had never amended their FAQ to state that this new packet does not include star coins, essentially saying that if you are a star rider, you get star coins regardless. But this packet contradicted that, and some players even showed screenshots where they were still being told they would get 100 star coin allowance even though this packet opted you out of that feature. This already stirred quite a bit of anger up in the community, but then Christmas happened. On the 25th of December, players went to open their advent calendar gift boxes in-game and found not their expected 300 star coins, which had been a tradition for 13 years now, but instead they found a Yeti pet. And all hell broke loose, with prices hiking up, the game filled with bugs and other issues, and Christmas our only time in the year to get some free star coins because star coin codes had been basically abolished by SSO. People were rightfully angry, and the movement Boycott Star Stable Online began. People flooded their social media with the hashtag and calling SSO out on their greedy practices, including the A/B testing situation. It was an almost united front, with defenders quickly drowned out by the onslaughts of anger. When SSO did respond in social media, it was only to say, "Our team worked very hard to create some superstar fam gifts for you, such as clothes, gear and pets for the gifts under the Yule tree and the winter token shop. We always want to show our appreciation for this community's incredible loyal and passion. So if there's anything that is on your wish list that you would love to see the next holiday season, we would love to have your wish list." Basically confirming that we would not be getting a star coin code this year. As you can imagine, this only fueled the flames. SSO would respond to the A/B testing controversy on the 27th of December, but little was said or done about the missing star coins. This only spurred the people on to continue boycott SSO until the 29th of December, when SSO finally dropped the code with the message, "It's time! We will be leaving the year in our usual style, going out with a proper bang. Here is the long-awaited New Year's gift from us. Not to Justin, not to Sabine, to you!" And it was a 300 star coin code. And people were happy, or at least some of them were. There is still a lot of anger boiling in the community, but now that Star Stable has given us the code and it has simmered down somewhat, I think what rather should be asked is, what the hell happened here? Why did the community explode so instantly and violently over a star coin code? And what can we take away from this? And also, was the A/B testing even valid and legal? We got a lot to cover today, as there are a lot of elements to consider, and I think it's only fair that we dissect and press into the wound to see what exactly caused it in the first place. But before we get into all that, I'd like to thank all my coffee supporters for being more awesome than living in a land of chocolate. Let's start with the first problem, the A/B testing. I'm going to go through some statements that people made, and I'm going to explain why or why not they're wrong. First off, many people claimed it's illegal to run A/B testing for prices. Wrong, it's not illegal. It's not the best way to do it, but as long as you're not discriminating between nationalities and you're labeling your product carefully and properly, it is perfectly legal to run A/B testing. But to be fair, there are much better ways to test than A/B testing, because in short, it just takes a long time to get results. Furthermore, price testing is also not illegal either. There are better ways to do it, but essentially price testing is, and I quote, "You conduct a test to determine the ideal price for a good or service. Price testing can give you insight into what you should charge consumers and can change how actual customers respond to different pricing." So yes, testing prices on people is a perfectly normal practice for marketing, but the reason A/B testing is not the best idea is because, and I quote, A/B price tests are sometimes advised against because they can have a negative impact on your brand if executed poorly. The way it's executed poorly really comes down to how the information is being obtained or how it's being studied, meaning A/B testing can give you faulty info, and if you're not careful you can draw incorrect conclusions which can hurt your brand. Let's take the example of giving players a $50 option and an $80 option for Star Rider. Most people, especially in this economy, will more than likely opt for the $50 price option. Because SSO does not break down their game's economy properly on their website, nor how you make money in-game, they go into the game not understanding that SSO offers no alternate way to get the horses they so often advertise other than spending more money. Once they have realized this, they might become angry, take to social media and say that the company is overly greedy because they have no way of getting those horses beyond just putting in more and more money every month. And that's only to buy horses. It does not include vet care, stable care, pets, clothing, tack and mane and tail adjustments. Essentially, you're cutting off part of your game from your players, certain features and fun parts, and in doing so you're forcing your players to essentially turn into whales or people who purchase a lot in mobile games to sustain the game. It just hit me actually how seriously horrible this package actually is. It's almost impossible to play this game without some star coins, and the fact that there is no way to get more star coins is going to be a huge detriment to people who purchase without the star coin allowance. But that is an example of how such an A/B test can actually hurt their brand. Unhappy customers will bring in bad reviews. But better ways to do price testing is a bit of a rabbit hole that's not really needed for this video. But suffice it to say, there are better ways of analyzing price efficiency. Another statement people made, it's illegal to run it blind. Wrong. All online tests are run blind. That is the entire point of testing. You can't get accurate results if people know they are being tested. And I quote from Scribber, "Blinding is important to reduce research bias. If participants know whether they are in a control or treatment group, they may adjust their behavior in ways that affect the outcome that researchers are trying to measure. This is absolutely viable for market research in many aspects, so doing the test blind is also perfectly fine." Another statement was, it's illegal to not give proper product information. In example, not informing the customer that they won't get star coins with their purchase. Bingo! That is the main issue here and the biggest point for concern. SSO decided to run an A and B test to test their newest products, which is fine. But whether through a fumble, an incompetence or deliberate misrepresentation, a customer ended up purchasing a product without understanding exactly what that would entail. She had to contact SSO and they had to tell her through an email what it meant to purchase the $50 price packet because it wasn't made clear. What's even funnier is that in the email they got the currencies wrong, meaning their math they had in the email meant she would be paying even more for Star Rider than she should have, which is quite surprising. Or actually not that surprising. The problem now becomes, why didn't SSO make it clear that the $50 price packet did not have star coins if it was a control group situation? I personally think it's pure incompetence. If we consider all the fumbles this company has made, people in the company telling us how poor the communication is, and just how badly it's run overall according to Glassdoor, I believe this was a horrible misstep on their end, because they're very good at missteps. SSO has accidentally released the Paso Finis 2 weeks early. Stacey Place once said in an interview that none of their prizes are 10,000 Jorvik shillings, which is a downright lie. They had a sleepover bug that ended up costing people actual star coins, and thanks to poor communication, people were left with the idea that they would not get compensated for that bug, even though star coins cost real money. They've had people lose entire stables, with SSO just shrugging and saying, not our problem. Entire events have been launched that were so broken people couldn't play it. Their horse models are slowly deteriorating due to terrible coding and development. The character models were launched in a broken state. Bugs are so prevalent that people call this game bug stable right now. They literally got the currency wrong on a person's email, and now they had the fumble with the 300 star coins where they so easily could have said, "Stay tuned guys, something's coming soon." That would have easily doused the flames, but no, they chose incompetence. And we're not even talking about the candle that ended up making a lot of people sick. And everything I just mentioned is recent stuff, really recent. I honestly believe it was pure, classic, star-stable incompetence. Now, SSO did respond to this whole situation by writing up a brief article to explain a few things. They do make it clear that if you wish to opt out, you can just pay the difference of the initial price and you'll be upgraded to the weekly allowance. They also explained that it had to be done blind to ensure the validity of the test, which is absolutely fair. But my main concern in this article was this line: "We've received requests to offer Star Rider subscriptions at a more accessible price point for our players." I'm very sure you did. I'm sure you receive on the daily complaints about your extortionate, bloated and horrible prices. For those who might not know, you, Star Stable, usually ask almost $90 for 5,000 star coins. That's the average price, not the double star coin price. A good 3rd gen horse will cost anywhere between 800 to 950 star coins, meaning when you pay $90 or almost $90, you can buy around 7 horses. There are over 700 in-game. And what can you do with all those horses? What exciting gameplay can you partake in? You can train them up to level 15. That's it. So when someone tells you it's not worth it, they really do mean it. When you guys hiked up your prices a few months ago, I did understand because the economy was crashing. But since then, you've been continuously pushing up the prices for star coins, which just makes you seem greedy. Furthermore, simply downgrading an already broken package is not a terribly good idea. It's like selling overpriced tomatoes and then trying to sell the rotten ones at a slightly better price in the hopes of moving stock. A better idea is to lower the price and give more value by getting better tomatoes, because then by definition you'll sell more tomatoes and have a good name to boot. Now, to be fair, SSO is doing a lot better in a lot of ways. They've added more gameplay and features and they are pushing to fix bugs. All of this is commendable, but they still got a ways to go to earn that $80 price tag. But they are trying. But let's rather ask another question. Why are they running A/B testing in the first place? SSO's prices had remained consistent since 2016, and then in 2020 they made an announcement that their prices would be going up in September for the same year. And since then the prices have been climbing and climbing and climbing. They have cut off the books, comics, artist and wild song sections, stopped the Project Curie and its tracks, and laid off a bunch of people. By these actions, SSO is, I believe, in a heap of trouble. But it's not contained to SSO. On the 7th of June 2023, Star Stable Entertainment published an article stating that they would let go of 15% of their company, approximately 35 people. Before that, the book and comic teams were both laid off, as I said, and a good friend of mine noted that the splash art from the SSO has been strangely absent of late. But these layoffs were not isolated to SSO in the slightest. In an article from Polygon, Nicole Carpenter said that within 1 year, over 7,000 people were laid off in the industry by November 2023, possibly even more. The reason is simple. People excess hired during the boom of COVID, and they now have to let go of the excess fat to streamline their production, which seems to be exactly what SSO is doing. But this does not deter from the fact that SSO has put itself in a bit of a pickle. They also rode on the wave of 2021 and 2020. Shareholders like seeing money go into their pockets. Without the growth from the 2021 era, the game is now dipping sharply in revenue, which is understandable. The fact that they are testing prices could be a sign to try and bump those numbers up again. But the thing is, I just don't think it'll work, because Star Stable is a company for shareholders, not players. They want players to buy, not to have fun. Companies that are focused on revenue and not player enjoyment include companies like EA, Ubisoft, Activision, Rockstar and 2K. Each of these companies today are so gung-ho in making money that they have fooled the industry into thinking the only way to keep games sustainable is by pushing for microtransactions and loot boxes. This mentality is thick and oozing in the gaming industry and infects every corner of our lives, especially in the mobile market. These companies can do this because they spend years upon years building a brand and building their companies into the behemoths they are now. They have a legacy of games to prove that they are good companies, but they have let greed take over. However, there are a lot of companies that stand in juxtaposition to them. Rare, Obsidian Entertainment, Hello Games, Respawn Entertainment, Bungie, From Software, Lorien Studios and Digital Extremes. Don't know who they are? Well, maybe this sounds more familiar. Sea of Thieves, Pillars of Eternity, No Man's Sky, Titanfall 2, Destiny 2, Elden Ring, Baldur's Gate 3 and Warframe. All of these games were made by companies who put the customers first, not to milk them for millions of dollars, but who remember what games have always been about, having an awesome experience. And by giving those experiences at reasonable fair prices or expectations, players put time into the game because they feel valued. These types of practices are now finally making a brilliant comeback. Baldur's Gate 3 and Elden Ring both gave these companies a wild shake. With no season passes and Elden Ring dropping a free DLC pack for its players, it seems that being money hungry is not really the way to go anymore. SSO, I believe, is feeling the punch of being so money focused. Players can now compare to games like Rival Stars, Equestrian the Game, Wild Shade and Star Equestrian, all of which are free. They have their faults, but they are still free. The Star Equestrian and Rival Stars each further making desktop versions of their games to buy one time. Well, in the case of Rival Stars, to buy one time. We've all said that the reason SSO gets away with this is because there is simply no competition. But now that so many horse games are pressing in from all sides, players are realizing that you don't have to pay thousands of dollars every year to enjoy a horse game. You can just play it too. This is, of course, only my own thoughts, and the revenue of games is a big subject to cover in of itself. But really, at the end of the day, they are selling a product. And one thing all retail companies will tell you is that if your customers are happy when they leave, they will be happy to come back. And this sort of leads me into my next point, the reason why everyone collectively lost their minds over a 300 star coin code. Let's talk about the code. Oh boy. The boycott is currently running for those who are wondering. I'll leave a link in the description below for those who want to check out the open letter that Cole wrote. Just a quick recap in case you've lost consciousness throughout my ramblings. SSO had issued a 300 star coin code every year for 13 years to gift players at Christmas. When the 25th of December rolled around and there was no code under the big tree that is totally not a Christmas tree of any kind, people were damned upset and started the hashtag #BoycottSSO, using the Starcoin situation as a springboard to talk about other issues and problems in the game. Essentially, people had to stop buying Starcoins to force SSO into a change. Now, this initial post would accumulate thousands of views and over 1,000 likes in a very short span of time, even though the account had at the time only about 100 followers. For around 4 days though, SSO would not relent and continued to assure people that they worked really hard on the gifts. People kept pushing. And on the 29th of December, they finally dropped the code. And initially, according to SSO's spoiler account, the code had been in the website since the start. So the narrative started that we were just being impatient a-holes. Reactions from the pro-Star Stable group would come down to, "How dare you?" And then when it turned out that the code had been in the system since the start. And the reactions from the boycott group included, "I bid you stand, man of the West!" In short, they weren't letting up. They made it clear that the issue had not only been the code, but the poor treatment they received from SSO for so long. The response was, of course, we should be grateful for what they give us, and the boycotters had been simply impatient and mean. SSO had planned this code since the start, after all. So I wanted to do some digging, because I couldn't find any proof that the code had been in the system since the start. So I contacted SSO Updates, and after a brief back and forth, we determined that she had just made a mistake, which is perfectly fine. She amended this on her Instagram, but then I went ahead and just asked someone to kind of show to me exactly what date she had initially discovered, and the video is running in the background now, so you can kind of see how to find the initial date. And this shows that the icon had been updated on the 29th of December, the day it went live, so there wasn't any proof that it had been in the system since 25th of December or 15th of December or since the start of December. This is something new they added clearly after the boycott. But now it's the problem that SSO deliberately didn't want to give the star code, which is kind of worse. Because it means they literally took something away from us just to make more money during the season of giving, Christmas, which is horrible and sad because SSO, you've been doing so well of late. You've been adding gameplay, trying to fix the bug problems. You've added the horse purchasing window and the new leveling system. And even added dressage. These are things we've asked you for years. You've been winning back confidence, and due to one greedy action, you destroyed everything you built up in a blink of an eye. I want to say that I hope you thought it was worth it, but I very much doubt that it was. I urge everyone to go and read this letter. It breaks down in a lot finer detail why we are so upset and why we are so annoyed over this code. The boycott now stands as a mark against SSO, a sign that people are tired of being condescended to, of being called Star Fam, when you, SSO, just keep hiking up the prices, treat us like money pockets, and expects us to be grateful about a broken game. again. Yes, this has happened before, and it will happen, more likely, again. But SSO, deliberately or accidental, ended up running a far more important test than A and B. This star coin Fiasco showed without a doubt what your players think of you, how much they care, how much they trust you, and how willing they are to give you the benefit of the doubt. The way the players reacted, that is not normal behavior. Not in a game where the players should be happy with the game's progress and the work you're currently putting in. Games will always have bad eggs, sure, but when the majority of your players react so viscerally over a missing star coin code, you need to start asking yourself, what am I doing wrong? So that's why I say, #boycott SSO. Not to hurt them, not to sink them, but to ensure that you SSO take the time to think about why we are so angry even when you are doing better.
Get up, suckers, it's all over. Listen, we had a rough couple of months.